It's 2 o'clock and I'd like to welcome everyone this afternoon. I'm Sarah Stalker with Contact North, and my role is to facilitate this afternoon's webinar for our presenter, Gay Douglas, who is the Co-Executive Director of Literacy Link Niagara. And without further ado, it's my pleasure to welcome Gay and ask Gay to present on math resources to you. Go ahead, Gay.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope that the weather is not too cold in your part of the province and that you're having a productive day. I'm very much looking forward to this presentation this afternoon because, as I was saying to Sarah a little earlier, I really do have the simplest job today. You folks, I'm sure, are multitasking between a number of different priorities. Sarah's going to be advancing the slides for me. She's going to be watching the comments, and I'm simply going to share with you this slide presentation and provide to you what I learned through a process of finding out what do LBS instructors use in the province of Ontario when it comes to engaging their students in mathematics. So let's get started. There'll be ample opportunities for you to participate in terms of a couple of polls that we've put into this presentation. And at any time, if you have any questions or have any problems with technology, or you would like to add a comment, Sarah's already covered how you do that. I'm not sure, Sarah, it might not hurt for me to share that very important number if people have tech problems. I think
Absolutely.
that's a good idea. Okay. If at any time you have a problem during the presentation, Sarah cannot help you, and I certainly cannot help you at all. So you'll need to contact the help desk at, and if you have a pencil or pen handy, please write this number down. It's 1-888-850-4628. And look, our wonderful Sarah has already added it into the text chat. And there's Daryl, who is on call waiting for any issues that might arise this afternoon. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, so first of all, before we get started talking about math and resources today, it's my pleasure to say a few words about our LBS online community of practice. Every year, we do a series of webinars developed collaboratively by members of really 3 different groups. Some members of Ontario's LBS regional literacy networks, our sector group, and the provincial support orgs for literacy, and eChannel is a major player in this picture. And our goal is to provide affordable professional development to LBS practitioners on topics that matter to you. And they're extremely affordable because for you, they're free. The networks and the support orgs and eChannel takes this on as part of the deliverables for the ministry, and because we know that the continuous professional development is so important for the field. We've been doing these webinars since 2015 and have done 5 a year. We tend to do 5 a year, and the last couple of years it's been focused on a particular theme. Last year was digital technology, and this year it's mathematics. You can find all the previous webinar presentations and links and transcripts at the link that you see on the screen. Another comment I'm going to ask Sarah. Sarah, this is not a live link from their end now, correct?
That's correct, Gay.
That's correct. So you may try to click on this now, and it will not work.
I will say that you will get the live link after today's webinar in our messaging, however.
Beautiful. Excellent. That's what I was hoping you would say. So because we do this every year, and it tends to be an activity that provides a great deal of interest and outcomes for folks who participate, we're always interested in hearing about other topics because before we know it, it'll be a new fiscal year and we'll be looking at another theme. So please let us know if you have some ideas by sending them to Sarah at echannel@contactnorth.ca. Okay, moving forward, please, Sarah. Okay, now it's a very glamorous picture of me, and it's there for a reason. When I do webinars, and I've done quite a few in the past, it's you can never really guarantee how great your office or you are going to look on the day that the webinar rolls around. So I thought it might be in everyone's best interest to have a picture that looks pretty good, and you can pretend that I look like that all the time. I would also like to, I've been with Literacy Link for 23 years, really passionate about adult learning, sort of tripped into the job and always waited for another job that might just come along that would be a better fit. Well, so far it's working out really well for me, and you know what happens in literacy, you never, ever, ever really leave. I also wanted to say a very special thanks to Jackie Catterick. Jackie is an instructor at the District School Board of Niagara here in Niagara. She's the former chair of our Common Frontline group that meets every 6 weeks. Frontline providers, teachers, instructors from all of our local LBS programs, and she's been involved at that group for at least 18 years. So she was very helpful in looking at the materials today and helping us turn what was a dry list of resources with a lot of comments into this presentation today that I hope really has a spin from an LBS instructor's point of view. I have never taught mathematics, and I've never taught LBS. So as a result, I really needed another perspective, and her perception on the documents has been extremely valuable. So hopefully that will come out as the day goes on. Carry on. Okay, so enough about me. How about you? I would be very curious in knowing what sector you work in LBS. So please click on the screen in front of you, whether you're community-based, college, school board, or something else. We'll give you folks the chance to populate this screen.
And I see Gay TM has said that they're from two different sectors. Perhaps you can choose one over the other. I don't know. And we've heard from almost everyone. Maybe just a few more seconds for anyone else to click the screen who hasn't indicated what sector they're from.
Very interesting. So obviously community-based is the largest proportion of participants today. That's followed by school board. And then we have very close here with college and other. Oh, it's constantly changing as people are adding their clicks here. 50, 31. Community-based, still out ahead. Okay, that really helps. Thank you. This really helps us in knowing who our audience is here today. Okay, another question. What stream do you represent? Do you work in the Anglophone, Francophone, Indigenous, Deaf, or some other very focused sector? It'll be interesting to see if anyone clicks on other. Wow, look at that. Wow. Okay, well, probably no surprise that we have the bulk of people are Anglophone, from the Anglophone sector, rather. Okay, thanks very much. That's helpful information for us to know, even as part of our evaluation in terms of who we're reaching. Our numbers are up to 57, and I'm sure others will join us as this goes on. So let's take a look at today's webinar and what the focus will be and what I will be covering. Okay, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we collected these resources. We're going to cover some of the top picks and specifically what practitioners said about those top picks. And we're going to also see the comments that they made. I think that's going to be helpful. At the end of the survey that we sent out, people were allowed, or were encouraged rather, to add comments about math resources. So we learned some important information here. And then the really good news about the distribution of the resource list, I will cover that before we move on to a few questions and answers before we wrap up for the day. Alrighty, so this is how we collected math resources. I developed a survey and sent it through the regional literacy network. So the 16 regional literacy networks, that was sent out in October. And our request was, please tell us about the most practical and effective math resources that you use. What do you find yourself using most days with most of your math learners? We asked them to recommend either digital or paper resources, and also to identify if there were any particular goal paths that these materials were most suitable for. And I'm going to sort of reflect on that bullet point for a moment and let you know that what we learned was, even though in some programs the resource may have been a paper resource that perhaps was not retrieved from online, the reality is, of course, with the evolving technology, that many of the resources that 10 to 15 years ago were paper are now available online. So that's good news. So when we get a little further and we begin to share the list with you, we will let you know that if we were able to find it online, as opposed to a publisher, we're going to flag that for you. So hopefully you'll find your way to those particular resources. So whether digital or paper, most are available via the internet, via an online source. So good news. The survey went out and we received 23 responses from all across the province, north, south, east, west, all sectors. 83 resources were recommended, and I couldn't believe the numbers when I sat down and began to go through the survey results. Very impressed, and we have taken those and put them into our final list to share with you today. A few we couldn't find, a few seemed to be very obscure, and regardless of our internet searches and discussions with other practitioners, we were unable to find them, but most we were. Okay, another little pause to call on your participation. Really curious, when you take a look at your overall learner profile, all of the students that are engaged in your specific program, what percentage of them have math as a focus of their learning? And maybe that's a number you don't know, but even an estimate would be, I think, interesting for people to know. Wow. So it looks like between 50 and 100% is the largest segment. Well, let's even go back. Yeah, let's just stick with the 50 to 100%. It looks to me like that is, so now I have to do the math to add these numbers up. Looks like 60. Okay, so 29% of those in this survey say that 75% of their learners are also engaged in math learning. And then 31% of the participants in this call say that it's somewhere between 50 and 75. And that does look like the largest group is between 50 and 75. And of course, we know that some learners only are attending a program for math, and others have other priorities, and math may be down the list after they accomplish a few other goals. Okay, thanks very much. Okay, now let's move on to the actual resources. And somebody do a drum roll for me. Is that possible? Can we do a digital or a digital drum roll somehow, anyone? Would you like to give it a try and chat?
I think if everybody gives you the feedback of applause, maybe that'll do it, Gay.
Okay, that'll work the same way. That'll be a drum roll. Okay, that's what I want to see. Okay, at number 1, Khan Academy, recommended by 10 of 23 participants. Definitely way out ahead in terms of popularity and use. The second one, and by the way, we're going to look at each of your top picks here, so you'll have a chance to see what their home page looks like. Sarah's going to take us there. But let's first of all just move through the digital resources that were most often recommended. So we have Khan, we have Math is Fun, and by the way, that should actually read, this is my error, Maths is Fun. Take a look at the link there. It actually has an S. Maths is Fun, and that's difficult to say, by the way. 4 out of the 23 recommended that particular resource, followed by, at number 3, we had, sorry, I'm just cursing down on my screen here for a second to see a number. Equally recommended were IXL Math Learn, Purple Math, GCF Learn Free, and PDF resources available at Northwest Territories Literacy. Very interesting. Okay, so let's move forward with a closer look at each of these top picks.
Do you want me to share one yet, Gay, or shall I move?
Yes, let's move forward with Khan.
Okay, I will share it. Just
going to take a moment for Sarah to open and close, but I think it'll be worth it to at least see the home page and get a sense of what's offered. Okay. There you go. First of all, it's telling us that it does not support Internet Explorer, which is kind of interesting, and I'm sure important to know from your point of view. But this gives you a sense of what the page looks like. Like Sarah's doing. Thank you. Sarah, we actually have a separate slide for each of these. Would it be better to go to each separate slide and then go to the website?
Yes, if you can work that way, then I can do that. I'm not sure that they'll all not be supported by Internet Explorer, but okay. Here's the Khan Academy slide for you.
Yep, we've done that one.
Okay.
You're having to multitask at your end. Let's first of all see what practitioners said about Khan Academy. They said it has lessons and videos on various math topics, and that based on the topic of study of the student, it's helpful to be able to search and pick out those specific videos. So math via video, that is a great concept, and I'm sure helpful for many learners in terms of being able to visualize the mathematical concept. Another practitioner said it's really good for learners from all goal paths. There's a variety of ways to learn, great video lessons, and tests. Next slide, please. More comments from practitioners. They said the videos are quick and effective, and they're great for independent and self-directed learners who are working on these particular goal paths. I think when I first sent the survey out and I asked folks to identify which goal path would be the best fit for this particular resource, I think I expected, in my ignorance, that it would be, oh, well, this is best for a learner with independence goals, or this is best for a post-secondary learner or an apprenticeship learner. I think what I learned through this process is it really does depend. It really does depend on the individual. It's not so much goal path. It's really learning style and specific skills that the learner needs to learn. Carry on, please, Sarah. Here we go. Yes, all goal paths can be served by Khan Academy. And this particular practitioner is a real fan. This is my go-to online math website. I project the videos on the interactive whiteboard, and I've got paper-based step-by-step instructions, manipulatives, and practice worksheets on the table. So yes, all learning styles are accommodated. And I'm reading a comment here. Jonathan says, wouldn't it be cool if math problems were based on real-world challenges municipalities face? Interesting. Yes, wouldn't it? Okay, carry on, please, Sarah. Okay, it's our next pick, and it's called Maths is Fun. And I'm going to, hopefully, Sarah will, looks like it's working. She's going to show us that website. There it is. Look at the options. I'd be interested in knowing any of you who are already using this. Maybe you'd like to applaud again. It'd be very interesting to see if this is something you're familiar with. Not a lot of people. Okay, great. So this is a little view. That's back to Maths is Fun. Thank you, Sarah. Next slide, please. Okay, comments from our participants. There's the key thing. The web address is called Maths is Fun because in the United Kingdom, where this is based, they're called Maths. So that makes sense. It works for all types of literacy learners and a great reference tool for instructors. Next slide. Thank you. Well illustrated, from simple to complex, a great range of mathematical resources. Clear explanation of concepts. And yes, important point here, I was thinking that as we were looking at the site. It is appropriate for adults, and there are cartoon-like pictures. It's still meaning for adult learners. However, that downside of grades being assigned to the activities. Based on your practice, I'm not sure if that is a benefit or a challenge. Okay, moving on to another top-rated digital resource, which is IXL Math Learn. And here we go. Once again, notice, trusted by educators and parents, comprehensive K-12 curriculum. But of course, you can scan through this by grade, look at the materials, and pull those which fit best with your students. Is this a common challenge? Excuse me, I'm going to look at Candace's comment. I think she's going to answer the question I was just about to ask. That's the biggest problem. Most resources are made for kids. Yeah, wouldn't it be great to have the same wonderful content with an adult spin, with more mature, more appropriate images? Good idea. Fonts and images. Perfect. Once again, a resource great for all levels. And the speaker icon, that would be helpful. Carry on, Sarah. Thank you. Great for independent, self-directed, and once again, as we've highlighted, separated by grade level. I'm going to ask the question, is it challenging or is it a benefit to have materials that are grade related? As experienced practitioners, are you able to look at, for example, a grade 5 math question and be able to relate that to an adult learner? Or do the grade levels get in the way? Challenging, yeah. Heather thinks it's challenging. Try not to use them, yeah. They do, don't they? Sometimes learners, excuse me, sometimes learners want to know, what level am I at? Some may grow resentful, absolutely. They may feel that it's below their intelligence level if it's childlike. Try to avoid them. Yeah, the grade level. It can be a barrier for an adult realizing that progress is being made. Right. Unfortunately, yes, they may need to go back to those early grade skills to make progress. So the grade piece may be helpful for you as a practitioner in terms of finding materials, but it's about taking those materials and making them appropriate for adults. That might be the challenge. Is that what I'm hearing? Great deal of time. Would be nice if we could just put it through some online resource and it would turn it into an adult problem with adult images, with adult content, so that those math questions and math resources could be more specific to adults. But that would be an awesome thing to have. Too time consuming, absolutely. One of the challenges, right? Okay, thanks so much. Next resource, Purple Math. Here we are. Purple Math. Who knows about Purple Math? Could I see a round of applause for those of you who are already using it? Okay. Thank you. Look at this, advanced algebra, word problems, appendices, and introduction to trigonometry. Well, I should be studying that. Not something I did very well in high school. Okay, thank you, Sarah, for a quick look at Purple Math. Here's what people said about Purple Math. They said that it provides instruction from, once again, grade, forgive me for using that word, grade level 5 and up. This individual said it was best for levels 3 through to 8, so higher levels. The next person said it was great for rounding, place value, fractions, video instruction, another key piece that people are identifying, and online practice, a quiz, and a bonus section. Great for self-directed learners and classroom instruction using a whiteboard. So great for individuals working on their own and also in a classroom setting. Next slide, please. Yep, links on the main page. We were just looking at other resources. And another individual here about the value in terms of ACE. GCF Learn Free. Let's take a quick look at GCF Learn Free. I know from our local practitioners here in Niagara, I hear about GCF Learn Free quite regularly. So I'm sure Sarah's going to take us down the home page here. Excellent. Fractions, good at math. This doesn't look too childish, but we haven't looked at actually the materials yet. But certainly the website is not childlike. Okay, thanks very much, Sarah. Comments from participants who responded was, it's great for all learners, all goal paths, and you need to sign up for an account which tracks progress. There's unit quizzes as you move through the units. Free and ideal for adults. Wow, that's the first time we've heard that, I believe. So that's important. Next slide, please. Quick look at top picks. I believe this is our last digital resource we're going to have a glance at. And this was often recommended by the survey respondents. Northwest Territory Literacy Council. Could we take a look, please, Sarah? Oh, Susan's asking, is IXL free? I thought it wasn't. Can you answer Susan's question? Anyone who's already using IXL free? And if no one on this call has that answer, what we'll be doing is looking that up for you, Susan, and we'll let you know.
Gay, I can't take you to the NWT literacy resources at the moment, but do know, everyone, that these will be in your packages after the webinar, so you will be able to see everything.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, my comments about this particular resource. They have something called Everyday Math, and there's a focus on consumer math and money issues, which reminds me of one of our next webinar is about money math. I'm going to tease you a little and tell you more about that later on. You can download a PDF of the workbook. This person has created a Manage Money leveled binder. So she's found resources and put them all together about managing money. Once again, money math, highly recommended by people. Many downloadable, that should say PDF, not PDR, many downloadable PDF resources, and you're able to save them and utilize them. Thank you. Okay, let's pause for a second before we go on with the paper, mostly paper, often online now, resources that we're going to cover. Do you use online resources or paper resources or a mix of each? Please choose the option that looks most like your practice. Yep, looks like most digital, usually around 25, for most participants rather, that are participating in this webinar, are finding that they're still using paper 75% of the time. I can see some people 100% paper, small amount. Look at someone who's very brave and bold. 4% of the people on this call are 100% digital. Okay, there's some comments now. I'm noticing that it looks like there could be a fee to IXL, which is definitely a deterrent. There's a monthly subscription worth looking into. Okay, thanks very much. What? We have 6% using 100% digital. So let's look at what was most often recommended in terms of paper resources, books that are in literacy and basic skills programs. First one is Breakthrough to Math. Is that familiar to people on this call? Could we see some applause? If so, since it's number one in terms of paper. Yep, seeing quite a few. Yeah, so here's a visit to where it is now online, which is wonderful to know, where you're going to be able to order this particular resource. Number of different types of math, different levels. Good old Grassroots Press has been around for a long time, and this was the most popular paper product. Next slide, please. This is what people said about that particular resources. Great for all learners, all goal paths, step-by-step instructional booklets. Level 3 might be not quite as in-depth as necessary. Good to know. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Skills-based. There's 6 books and a workbook and a teacher's guide. Step-by-step seems to be the key phrase used to describe this resource. Thank you. Real world. Good to see. Susan says it's good for people who need to know the how, not so much the why of math, right? Next one, and there should definitely be an applause or a drum roll for this, because I think we have Joanne on this call. Don't we, Joanne? So this is good old Community Literacy of Ontario resources called Numeracy in Action. On their website. I think we're looking at your website, correct, Joanne? It's a free resource funded by the ministry. It's all about enhancing math skills. And Joanne says, yes, I'm here. Yes, our website. Very proud of this good material. Look at the various options you have here. Managing money, managing time, using measures, managing data, and additional resources. I think this would be a great source of information. Thank you. Here's what they said. Here's what people said about it. Great for all levels, great for math learners on different goal paths, and great and easy to download and print out as needed. Well, Joanne, you can use this if you ever need to evaluate that particular page. This is what people are saying about that particular resource. That's great to hear. Next top pick is Jump Math. And it's free. So maybe, I think Sarah's taking us to Jump Math. Here we go. Every child can learn math. So this is a nonprofit organization that produces these materials, and I think this is an important, that icon at the bottom is important, knowing that the materials will be Canadian content. Let's take a look. Once again, child resources. Thanks, Sarah. This is what people said about that particular resource. Great for groups or learners working on similar skills, so group effort. I'm going to read this aloud because I think this was a person took a lot of time to type this, and it's rather profound. It's a system of teaching foundational numeracy, collated to the Ontario curriculum. So it provides lots of practitioner professional development in order to use the resource to its fullest potential. So through these books, although these books are designed for children, many of the exercises are useful for adults and great for connecting visual representations of numbers with base 10 blocks, written math, and spoken language. They also encourage connections between visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learning. Whoever entered this and supplied it to our survey, I want to thank them for the time that they took and the thoughtfulness of your response. Really appreciate it. Another top pick is from PTP, Toronto-based PTP, based on the camera system, the WorkRight series. Many of us were familiar with this series when the government funded workplace education back in the mid-90s, early 2000s, I'm thinking. It was very popular. Were matching grants available from the provincial government to help businesses develop their own internal literacy skills of their staff. That's when I first remember seeing the PTP series called WorkRight. Okay, so here is PTP. Heather, your comment about not available online, was that JUMP or was that PTP? I'm sure she's typing, yeah. Okay. We'll wait for her to clarify that. In the meantime, here is what participants said about the WorkRight series. Now, here we go. Oh, wait, Heather was talking about Jump Math. Gotcha. Thank you so much. So back to PTP's WorkRight series. Participants said great for levels 1, 2, and 3, and especially if they're on the employment pathway, real-life documents, task-based questions and activities. Real life, there's another term. When you start to see the same comment, you know that that's probably the primary strength of these resources. To incorporate calculations with reading, filling in documents, yes. Thank you. Critical thinking and careful checking is required in exercises at every level. So it's challenging. Great to use as learning activities to show progress. Make a point of noting that. And authentic, that's the key thing, authentic workplace documents that really parallel the types of documents that a learner may encounter in the workplace. Okay, we also asked folks, after we gave them ample opportunities to suggest resources, hence the 83 resources that were recommended. We had one final question saying, is there anything else you would recommend? So here were two new ones. One was called Math for the Automotive Trade. We don't have a link for that, but someone else suggested mathdrills.com for worksheets. Okay. Survey respondents had a chance to put in one final comment before they sent the survey off to us, and here's what people said. Some great hints here. Purchase several sets of fraction circles from Scholar's Choice. Their solid shape models are helpful as well. EDX has a fun course called Effective Learning Through Math that could help learners approach problem solving. They get challenging by the end, but the beginning of the course is accessible to most. Let me just see if I'm missing something in comments here.
Jonathan's made a great comment on math and civic engagement from New York.
Excellent. Great resource. Thank you, Jonathan. Final comments included task-based workbooks are always great, but I've had great difficulty finding many math topics. A comprehensive series in terms of math topics and difficulty levels would be awesome. And I will add my own 2 cents here and say specifically for adult learners. That would be really great. Invest in some practice money and coins. So I'm sure many of you are already using those. Certainly not real cash and coins, but the practice stuff is helpful. We need more adult learner geared resources. Let's hear it for that with a round of applause. I think that was the message that came out across the board. Final comment here was, I believe this is the final comment from in final comments, is if you have many levels represented in your classroom, the best resource can be your peers. It's a win-win in my classroom. A big boost for the student helping another, and sometimes having a new person explain something is the fresh take the learner needs. Is that a great comment? Really like that. Yeah. Really like that a lot. Okay, we're going to pause for a second and ask you, how many of the resources that we shared today are new to you? Either 5 to 10, 10 to 25, 25 to 50, 50 to 75, or 75 to 100. It'd be very interesting to know. So the largest number was people who identified they'd probably seen half of these in the past, followed by people who said only a small number were new to them. So they're quite familiar with them, followed by 10 to 25%, or 15% rather, of participants today who say only 1 in 4 is new to me. Thank you. Okay, so here we go. Here is, this was not planned to be part of this particular webinar, but it happened because we ended up with this great list of resources and said, why should we hold on to this? This is something we should be distributing to the field and adding to for sure as time goes on. So what we did is we've put together a Word document that includes the resource's name, the URL or the publisher, if we were able to find that for you, and any of the comments made by practitioners who participated in the survey. So that will be distributed through the regional literacy networks and the support orgs. This is a chance for questions and answers. I'm not sure if I have the answers, but ask your questions, if there are any.
And it looks like we've got lots of resource people online with us too, Gay. If you've seen Jonathan's example of how his organization taught some math skills, for instance.
Excellent. And this is being taped. This is being recorded. Taped, listen to me. It's being recorded. And so this material will be available to you long term. Oh my goodness, someone really loves math. Jonathan, I think you're a real math guru here. Everyone will want to email him after this webinar. Are there any specific questions? If you're wondering when the list will go out, I think that Sarah would tell you that, is it immediately after this webinar that they will receive the math resource list, Sarah?
Yes, we'll be sending out today's presentation and the resource list as soon as I confirm all the correct links in the messaging. So that will be late this afternoon, and please watch for that in your mailboxes. There will also be links to the site where we post the recording links and the resource list and the presentation.
Thank you very much. And I will also be sending it through the networks and the support orgs via email. And hopefully they will share with their constituents. No specific questions?
I know, Sally, I see a raised hand, and I'm not sure if that was meant to be a question or if it's meant to be applause.
If it's a question, Sally can either unmute herself, correct, Sarah, or type it.
I don't think Sally actually has a microphone, but we'll watch for the question in text chat. Thank you. And Gay, while people are musing about all the material here, we'll also take a look at the text chat, and if there's additional resources in the webinar summary, perhaps we can gather those there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And Sally has added her comment and has asked if people have suggestions on connecting a local agency that helps women get into the trades.
Oh, that's a great question. Leave it with me, Sally, and I'll do a quick scan through the regional networks. That's often a good way to find out about local programming. And even if it's not in your community, what community are you in, Sally? Even if it isn't, there could be a resource that may help somewhere else. Fleming College, look at this. Everyone's solving everyone's problems here. Okay, that's great. Keep that conversation going.
Gay, with your permission, knowing that some folks may have learners in the background to attend to, would you mind if I put up the webinar evaluation?
Could we first do the next slide?
Oh, I'm sorry, certainly. Sorry.
Pretty much the final slide. That's awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, quick reminder that you may wish to browse other online community of practice topics that have been addressed in the past. The web link is on your screen and will be in your copy that you received. We'd really appreciate it if you would take 3 minutes of your time to complete a really quick evaluation. That feedback is reviewed by the committee that puts the OCPs together. And we're also having a draw. So if you complete the evaluation and provide your name and an email address, you will be entered into a draw for a $25 gift card. If you're interested in this topic of math and numeracy, please join us for the next webinar, which is called Money Math. Money Math will be held on February 28th from 2 to 3:30. That's February 28th from 2 to 3:30. Register at the link. I don't see the link on that page, but definitely you'll get it in what it's going to be sent to you later today.
Yes, you will.
Yes. And new this year for the online community of practice is if you do participate in all 5 of our webinars, there will be a certificate of recognition available if you would like it, which cannot hurt your professional development portfolio. And I believe that's our final slide. I think what we've done is definitely brought a lot of people together here with a common passion and a common interest. And it would be nice to think that we would be able to continue to support this level of interest. So your evaluation is on the screen. Please take a moment to complete it while I sign off for the afternoon. And thank you for spending 51 minutes with us today.
And I'd like to thank Gay for bringing together these wonderful resources with the help of Jackie Catterick and others of the practitioners around the province who contributed some wonderful examples and put a lot of thought into this. And I'd like to thank all of you for taking time to take part in this webinar. As promised, you will be receiving the messaging shortly with today's recording link, the resources, and the registration link for our Money Math webinar coming up next month. So thank you so much, and if you would be so kind as to input your evaluations, we'd really appreciate it. So thank you, Gay, and you can put your feet up now and have a well-deserved rest.
Thank you, Sarah. Have a great day, everyone.